All right, everybody. Welcome to BO Boys for Friday, May 24th. Fuck it. It's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm not Clayton. I'm Pat.
And
Who are
I'm
you?
honestly Clayton stand-in. Honestly, probably better than him if you ask some people. Chris, the
Yes.
everyone's favorite intern.
Yes. Wannabe a senior intern Christopher. I love it. Right off the bat, you are just taking a giant dump on Clayton and you are saying it is time to replace him. It is time for new blood. It is time for me to take over. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
This is, classic when a host goes away, goes on vacation, steps away, the young, hungry wannabe host comes in, takes a job from underneath them. I love to see it because my job is secure. I'm not going anywhere, obviously.
Yeah.
But Clayton, he's precarious. He's always
Hey, I'm
been.
up for a promotion right now. I gotta get it somehow.
You might be able to leapfrog that promotion and go right from VP of interns straight to co-host and VP of interns. So
So where does Clayton go at that point?
I would say then Clayton takes your current position, which is wannabe senior intern. Yeah, he would be demoted.
Uh,
I mean, let's just say we don't know where Clayton is. He's been
mhm.
unresponsive. He's on I guess a Hunter S. Thompson type road trip through the country, and God knows what he's on right now. And let the rumors begin. That's
Yeah.
all I'll say.
Mhm. Hey,
Um,
no press is bad press, as they say.
Oh, totally. If Clayton is found somewhere, whatever state he's found in, it'll be a boon of publicity for us, which is great because we're about to go on this live tour in the fall and we could use some big news clippings. So if Clayton is
Honestly, it'd
found
be
in a
better if they
ditch,
just find like a piece of clothing, but not Clayton. Like that'd make it even better.
oh, I like that. Yeah, so that we could string this out for like months
Mm-hmm.
of publicity. They're finding
Yeah.
pieces of
Mm-hmm.
clothing and then eventually pieces of him throughout
Yeah,
the country.
even better, even better.
Yes, this would be great. Yeah, I wonder how many pieces of clothing or pieces of Clayton would need to be found before we officially declare you the full-time co-host.
I feel like one a month until the first show would be enough.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if the first piece we find is a full head, then you're in.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
the co-host.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah,
But if we're just talking like fingers and toes, I think we need to let that accumulate for a little bit before
Oh,
we.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So, of course, this is a show about box office, obviously.
Yeah. hmm
And you and we have a huge weekend to go over. This is the biggest box office weekend we've had this year. I think I mean, it's not going to have the biggest movie of the year, but it just feels so big because when is the last time we've had two legitimately potentially huge movies opening on the same weekend? Everything's been pretty spread out this year.
Yeah, maybe like Christmas, I guess. Like, yeah,
Right.
that'd be the last major like holiday.
You're right. And even Christmas, I feel like Christmas Day didn't have two huge movies like this did. It had Your
Yeah.
Boys in the Boat and it had your Iron Claws and such. But I mean, this weekend, Memorial Weekend, we got Furiosa, we got Garfield. This one reminds me a lot of the Memorial Weekend 2 years ago that brought us back, or 3 years ago now, the
Oh yeah,
the
3 years
Memorial
ago.
Day 2021 when we had Cruella and Quiet Place 2 opened
But
up.
I
And
mean,
that's what
wasn't
this feels like.
technically I feel like the original collab was the real weekend that brought everyone back in late March.
Yes, yeah. The original, well, they weren't collabing then. It was Godzilla
Oh,
v
they
Kong.
yeah,
Those are
they were versing,
Yeah, it was a V
yeah.
situation that brought us back. But that Memorial Day 3 years ago was a big deal to see two huge movies, two different audiences going at it. And that weekend, the adult movie is the one that won out. Quiet Place 2 opened to the 40s. I think Cruella in the 3 day did like 21 million.
Yeah, I think it was like yeah, low to mid 20s maybe. But yeah, but Quiet Place ended up opening up basically what the original did, which was like the biggest sign that like, all right, maybe we're on our way back.
Yes. That was really great to see. And The big question this weekend is, will it be the kids movie or will it be the adults movie that finishes ahead? I mean, it's a coin flip
Mhm.
right now, I would say, in all the projections. And I mean, we'll start with like we're gonna go into each movie, but let's just get your prediction, maybe not numbers, but which one are you feeling right now is going to come out ahead? Are you a Garfield man or are you a Furiosa man right now?
Honestly, I'm Garfield all the way. I think Furiosa. I mean, Scott Mendelson's talked about it. This is a spin-off to a not super successful movie to not even like the main character. And honestly, it's
Hmm.
almost giving like Blade Runner 2049 vibes. Like this
Yeah.
adult sci-fi movie that's just not going to click with general audiences. And also, doesn't this audience almost overlap because the parents that would want to see this have to take their kids to Garfield instead?
Well, I mean, it's the age-old question of, does a guardian have to be in the same screening room as their child? Could a
Mhm.
guardian buy a ticket to Furiosa, buy a ticket to Garfield? They go their separate ways for a couple of hours. They meet back up in the lobby. So it
But
could go
what's
that
that
way.
kid doing for the extra hour that Furiosa's going on? Does he just get to like wander the lobby, maybe go to other stores in the strip mall while the parents in there? Like what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, I guess you really got to make sure they got quarters for the arcade,
Mhm.
and that's why these theaters, they got to have some kind of arcade in the lobby, because you need to be
Mhm.
able to have kids kill that time between when their movie ends and their parents' movie ends, because the parents' movie is going to be like 2.5 hours and the kids' movie is going
Yeah.
to be an hour and a half. So yeah, these
Mhm.
these theaters got to have arcades. I think I'm on the same boat as you. I mean, I
Mhm.
think Garfield is going to be so much bigger than people are giving it credit for. This cat is gigantic.
I mean,
The
hashtag Gentle Mondays, like you guys called it, Gentle Mondays. So someone
ha,
has to start that.
have you heard that rumbling on the college campus? Has
No, I'm gonna
just on the
start the
last
rumbling. I feel like someone has
okay.
to start it, so why not me?
Yeah, and you could. I mean, basically, what we were saying is the Gentle Minions craze was young people going in tuxedos, and I think young people are going to turn out in a huge way on this Memorial Day Monday, because Garfield famously hates Mondays, and this is their way of cheering this cat up. Is if he could have the biggest
Mhm.
Monday in Memorial Day history, that's going to turn things around for Garfield. Then he's becomes a cat
I
who
feel
loves
like in the
Mondays.
sequel he'd have to love Mondays at that point.
Yes, it would be a way of the audience getting themselves into the movie, because yeah, Garfield would have to
Mhm.
acknowledge it in the second movie that
Mhm.
actually I'm a big fan of Mondays because of what the
Yeah,
Gentle Mondays people did. Yeah. I
exactly.
I feel like, I mean, let's start with Garfield. So how big do you think Chris Pratt doing the voice is? I feel like people. I just had a conversation with some people around BOHQ earlier today that Chris Pratt is the number 4 Chris, which blows my mind. He's by far he's a bigger
But
box office
how
star
much
than all
times do we
3
have
other
to
Chris's.
say tweets aren't ticks? Like I feel like
Yes,
that's such like a Twitter thing.
yeah, it's he's by far the biggest Chris. Oh, I mean, they're going head to head this weekend.
What about, does Christopher Nolan count as a Chris, or no? Is he exempt from that?
If he's in the, yeah, you've never heard him
Because my name's
thrown in with the
technically,
other
my name's
Chris's.
Christopher, but all my friends call me Chris.
Okay. I
So
think
am I
I
in the
think
running for biggest Chris?
I think you're a different generation also.
Okay, okay.
So you're like the
Hmm.
next generation of Chris's. But in terms of, does Chris Nolan count in that generation of Chris's with Pine, Evans, Chrissy Hemme, and Pratt?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, he does. If so, so if so, Nolan's the number 1 Chris, then it's
hmm,
Pratt.
that's Pratt.
Then
I
it's
say
3
Hemi.
Pickums. Yeah, then it's Hemi.
Well, it depends
Then
on this weekend too.
right,
It depends on this weekend to see if he's the number three Hemi or number three Chris.
right. He's definitely the number 1 Hemi, because it gets pretty dire
Hmm.
once you get into the
Yeah,
other Hemis. Um,
yeah.
but I don't think people give enough credit to how much Pratt is going to mean to this. He was Super Mario 1 year ago. He was Super Mario,
Mhm.
And the kids know that. I don't know how they know that. I honestly don't know how kids get all this information, but they know. They are
They
aware
yeah,
that Chris Pratt is the
they know
voice.
everything.
Yeah. Do you think, do the college kids know that Chris Pratt is the voice?
I think they definitely do. They knew he was Mario. They know him as Star Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. They know Chris. Honestly, probably better than all the other Chris's.
Right. Yeah, I think that there, there is a bias against him for whatever reasons. The hatchets are always out for Chris Pratt, but he's going to mean something at the box office this weekend. And there's going to be kids, and there's going to be college kids, and there's going to be men and women who go to it because they want to hear him do this voice. And I think cleanse the palate a little bit of what they got from Bill Murray. Because I do think that the Bill Murray Garfields left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Hmm
The second movie totally bombed. There's, of course, the story of Bill Murray saying how he actually didn't realize he was going to be in a Garfield movie, or he didn't realize who
Well,
was
no, because it
directing
was
it.
the director's name. I'd have to look it up, but the director's
It was
name was the
Etten
same.
Cohen, and he
Yeah,
thought it
it
was a
was the
Cohen
same.
Brothers
Yeah,
movie. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And he didn't realize that until after he like apparently walked on set the first day or something. He was like, "Oh, I'm not in a Cohen Brothers movie," or whoever
right,
the director was at the time.
right. So I think there was a bad vibe with those movies that isn't there with this one. I mean, Chris Pratt is not going around saying he knew this Garfield movie was not directed by the Cohen brothers. He was very clear
Definitely.
about that. Like, I think if nothing else on this press tour, Chris Pratt has made it clear he knew who was directing the movie he was in, which is a
hmm
huge step up already from the Bill Murray Garfields.
Yeah, I mean, you are. I mean, that's already a level and quality jump that has to be baked into the film's DNA.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think it's been long enough. It's been 20 years since those Garfield movies came
Yeah,
out
those
that
were like I don't have any connection to them because those came out like just as I was born. So my
yeah.
parents were probably going to be terrified if they saw me staring at a CGI cat for an hour and a half, and that probably would have terrified me too.
Yes. Yes, yes. For sure. Yeah, that movie would not have been for babies. It would have been a terrifying
No, yeah,
experience until you hit at least like one and a half for sure.
hmm
So I don't
hmm
think I think it's very similar to the Super Mario Brothers, in that there was the 90s Super Mario Brothers that was a nightmare, huge bomb. The cast hated it, just terrible press. But there was more than enough time from that movie to the Chris Pratt movie last year where the old movie had no ill effects. And I think it's the same
yeah,
thing here. I don't think the Garfield movie from 2004 is a negative anymore. Like if you tried this in 2012, I think
maybe,
that would have been a
yeah.
problem, but now it's so far in the past. I mean, Bill Murray, most people assume he's dead. No one thinks about it anymore.
And I mean, honestly, like with Mario too, probably like all the younger generation that saw it might not even know about the 90s Mario movie. So that could be the same thing here where they're just
Yep.
completely unaware that the Bill Murray version even exists. They probably
Yeah.
just know about him from like the cartoons or like is he in the newspaper? Maybe like the newspaper if their parents are doing the crossword Sunday Times every day. But like other than that, like I feel like how else would they know Garfield?
Yeah, that's an interesting point because this Garfield situation all started in the newspapers. It was
hmm
a daily newspaper comic every day. You see who the president was, see if the president's still alive, check the
hmm
weather, check the sports scores, and then you would see, did Garfield get lasagna today? Did he not get lasagna? That was
Yeah.
basically, that
hmm
was the news. And I newspapers are not. Have you ever held a newspaper in your hand, Christopher?
Actually, yeah, only a few times because like maybe my parents were like eating breakfast. They were like, "Hey, hold this," and then I dropped it immediately because I didn't know what it was, and it was kind of scary. But like other than that,
Wow.
not really. It's too.
Wow.
I don't know. There no color. It's too dense. No, it's all pictures. Nothing's moving. Not for my
Right.
generation.
Right. You couldn't, like, if you tried to swipe it, you would just look and
Yeah,
your
it just
hands would be
swiped to
all
the next
black.
page. It didn't feel like a Kindle. It was kind of weird.
Right. So yeah, so people do not use newspapers now, but I think th- an old audience could be drawn to this as a link to the past, as almost like Garfield is one of the remaining vestiges of the newspaper days.
Oh,
And
like
you
a
could
like
get some
nostalgia
80.
play.
Yes, yes. Like I could see some 80-year-olds seeing the poster, seeing that name Garfield, and they think, I remember when I used to read the newspaper on the train, or I'd wake up and a paper boy would throw a newspaper and it would be at my step, be at my front door back when I owned a house. Now I live in a home. And
Mhm.
they remember Garfield. They remember those days. And yeah, you could get some elderly moviegoers who want to see Garfield because it reminds them of newspapers.
Well, now I'm honestly really interested to see the demos that come out like this weekend, because it
Hmm.
could be like 50-50, like under 18, and then like the 50 or 60 plus demo. I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. I definitely could see that. So Garfield really does. He's been around for so long. He is a cat, and
Hmm. Who doesn't love
everyone.
funny cat videos? Like that's like the internet
Right,
staple.
right. So he does hit everybody. It's like, you know, women love cats, kids love cats, old people collect cats.
Cats,
They're
yeah, yeah.
surrounded by cats. Um, is there Is there anything to there's probably no stink left from the Broadway Cats movie that bombed in, what was that, December 2019? That's
Honestly,
probably
I almost
faded at this
forgot it.
point.
I almost forgot about that until you just mentioned it. I didn't know where you were gonna go with that cats thing at first, and then I was like, oh wow, yeah, that's like supposedly a super successful Broadway musical based on a movie that bombed. Like I just totally forgot about that. So I
Right,
can't
right.
imagine if I forgot about it that like people who don't follow this stuff would actually even remember it.
Yeah, so I mean, cats don't have a stink on them right now.
I mean, look at Taylor Swift. She was like the star of Cats, and look where she is now.
That's right. That is true. That she was able to make something out of herself after being in that movie. And she loves
Hmm.
cats, so Taylor Swift fans love cats. I mean, the more we talk about this, I we'll get to the numbers later. The projections on this are what, in the 30s or
I think
so
it's
for a
like
3-day
30,
weekend.
35 to 40 for I can't remember if that's the 4-day or the 3-day, but that's a
The
number I've
the
been like consistently seeing.
Yeah, the 3-day estimate seems to be 35 to 45. And I mean, between Pratt, between newspaper nostalgia, between Gentle Mondays, between just cats,
Cats in
um,
general.
you know, I could say this because I am an Italian. I do think lasagna is going to draw a lot of Italian Americans
Hey, I'm
out.
50% Italian and I get hungry just thinking about that word.
Right, right. So I think that you're going to get a lot of Italians who go this weekend because just even the idea of animated lasagna being in front of them is
Hmm.
is a draw. It definitely is a draw. C- Do you think that movie theaters are ready, maybe hiring extra teenagers and elderly people whose kids don't take care of them, hiring more people to be ready in case and I could say this because I'm Italian, you could say half of this because you're half Italian,
Hmm.
for Italian Americans to possibly try and eat the screens this weekend when the animated lasagna appears.
Honestly, I think AMC and like Regal should just prepare and have lasagna on their menu specifically for this weekend.
That's such a great
Like a
idea.
manager just comes in, they had their mom make it or something, probably some
Hmm.
like gazool too or whatever the Italians
Yep.
like to make, and then
Yep.
just add that to their menu. Just
Gabagool.
like
Yeah.
write it on the TV screen in Sharpie. Never
Yep.
gets erased. So anytime an Italian comes in, they think there's lasagna, and yeah, you just do that.
That is such a great idea. Yeah, because when an Italian American, of course, again, I could say this, tries
Hmm.
to eat the screen because of animated lasagna, you're able to not just keep them from eating and destroying your movie screen, but then you're actually making more money because you're
Hmm.
selling them lasagna.
Exactly.
And it's just you have it in a plastic tub. It's just reheated lasagna from a week ago. And you could charge like $30 for it because
For
the
like a
Italian movie
slice. Yeah.
yes, yes. Yeah, they're going to be so hungry from that animated lasagna. I think that's great. And we talked about Megalopolis, how there's a scene in the movie where he has it staged so that someone from the movie in the audience has to interact with the movie itself. I think then that becomes part of the Garfield experience, is seeing Italian Americans try and eat the animated lasagna. Then they buy a lasagna from the movie theater, and that itself becomes a draw in the following weeks. So if people want to see that. Yeah. Anything else that's, you're a Garfield man, anything else that we haven't covered that makes you think this is going to be the big movie this weekend?
No, I mean, I feel like we've talked about it all. If anything, we got to talk about why Furiosa isn't going to be the biggest movie of this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not low on this, but you brought up the tribal chief. Throw ones up here, for the icon, Scott Mendelson. He has brought up some points. You mentioned he said that it's a prequel to a movie that people maybe didn't necessarily love, and it's
no, I'm not saying I feel like they loved
people
it.
loved it. People loved it, but
like,
wasn't as big.
Yeah, people loved it, but I feel like it's not one of those movies that's been repeated on like TNT or something enough.
Okay.
Enough in the past. I think it's like 9 years since that one came out.
Since Fury
where it's
Road,
since like it's stuck in the the zeitgeist. And also, if you remember, like that made less than $400 million. I think it was like 370 on like a 150 budget. So like it wasn't even a huge hit back then. I think it's just one of those ones that like the people who saw it loved it and they keep talking about it, but it hasn't really gained like a massive audience outside of that.
Well, and I think the big thing that Mendelson has brought up is that it's not a sequel to that movie. It's a prequel with a different actor playing the marquee character. The movie
and the marquee character wasn't even the star of last movie. She just became right. It's like any TV show sitcom that has like a favorite side character. Like that was her, and then they made a spinoff about her instead of like the main person.
This would be, and there's a chance you might not get this reference, but this would be as if they did a prequel spinoff to Three's Company, and it wasn't even just that the Ropers were getting a spinoff, but it was young the Ropers. It was different actors playing the Ropers. So it wasn't even Norman Fell playing Mr. Roper. It was some young hotshot, maybe like a George Clooney at the time, a young George Clooney playing Mr. Roper in a spin-off prequel. That is what Furiosa basically is.
I don't know if you've ever heard it. It has the feeling of like young Sheldon, but if it was canceled after one season, like that's kind of what it's giving.
Okay, so you're right. Okay, possibly a more current example than the Never Made Roper's prequel show would be Young Sheldon. So, I mean, here's the thing. Young Sheldon, I've never seen it, but I know it's a hit.
I'm personally a fan. I am personally
okay. So there is then that appetite to see prequels of iconic characters. And now that's the question. Is Furiosa Sheldon? Sheldon's a marquee character. People wanted to see him young, but do people want to see young Furiosa? Should they have capitalized? Should Warner Brothers have tried to capitalize on young Sheldon by calling this young Furiosa?
Honestly, yeah, just like the collab when you have two people doing, you gotta add the X. Honestly, just add young in front of everything, and I feel like that's just an automatic plus.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Young Frankenstein a long time ago, that worked, and you haven't had a lot of youngs. I guess was there a young Indiana Jones? Not as a movie. Yeah, you don't get as many young.
I feel like it was the Chronicles of Indy, though. Like I feel like it wasn't young Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and the Han Solo, the one Mendelson brought up that this reminded him of was Solo. Was the Solo spinoff movie where they didn't have Harrison Ford play Han Solo. And I don't know if it would have helped, but that movie probably should have just been called Young Solo instead of Solo. And
Mhm.
yeah, Young Furiosa, I think, is a missed opportunity to do a tie-in with the Young Sheldon craze. Um,
Mhm. And I
yeah.
mean, that show just ended, so it's like right on everyone's minds. Would have
Hmm.
segued right into Young Furiosa.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's all owned
So
by the same company. So they could have easily done it.
you're right. You're right. It's all Warner Brothers TV, then the Warner Brothers
Mhm.
movie. They probably could have done some kind of Young Sheldon marathon that Anya Taylor-Joy hosts. She
Oh yeah.
hosts a day on TBS of here's my top 10 favorite Young Sheldon episodes, and be sure to go see this Memorial Weekend Young Furiosa. And
Furiosa. Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, you do like when they used to have Comedy Central have like, the stars of Big Daddy would host a marathon of Kids in the Hall on Comedy Central, something like that. You could have
Mhm.
had Anya Taylor-Joy
Yeah.
just because I I think she's a good enough actress where she could pretend that she knows what young Sheldon is, right? I think she's that good.
Oh yeah. I think yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is she an Oscar nominator or Oscar winner? I feel like she's definitely been like she's been in some prestige movies where I feel like she could definitely pull that off at
Yeah,
this point.
yeah. So let's talk about her because the original Mad Max Fury Road, it was Charlize Theron as Furiosa. Now you've got Anya Taylor-Joy, who hasn't broken as a movie star yet, but Queen's Gambit was big on Streamo, and everyone liked The Menu. That was a moderate hit. I think it
Yeah,
did like
I mean,
thirty-five or
weren't you
40
the menus
domestic.
champion and like Clayton hated it or something? Was that how it was?
That was we did go back in the archives. That would have been like fall 2021 when early
2022 or was it 2021?
I think it was 2021. I think the
2020. I know it
menu
was like November of either 2021 or 2022. I think
Oh,
you might be right.
2022. You're right. So it
Oh,
was
okay.
it
I
was
was right. Yeah, yeah.
yep, it was in 2022, and that was a movie that early on, it opened to whatever it did. I said it's going to stick around. It's good. It's going to stick around. Clayton did finally come around. He ate crow.
Mhm.
Um, you know,
Just like yeah, yeah.
he might
Just like
be he
Black
might
Adam.
be
He always comes around. After
he,
you tell him for weeks and weeks and weeks, he
weeks
always
and weeks
eventually
and
sees your
weeks.
side.
Yeah. And God knows what Clayton is eating to survive right now. We don't know his whereabouts. We don't know how
Mhm.
he's sustaining
We'll probably
himself
find a
if he
piece of
is.
him in the woods in like a week from now or something.
Yeah, a week from now would be good because that might be when we put the New York tickets on sale. So like that would be great
Mhm.
to find like a three fingers. I think if we find three Clayton
Mhm.
fingers in a week when we put the tickets on sale, that would be great timing. Um
Exactly.
so the Menu 2022 was a success, but she hasn't had a giant hit. Yeah, I mean she was in Dune, that doesn't count. She
Yeah.
was like a
Well, she
cameo
was
in
also
Dune.
like in Dune for like 2 seconds as like some sort of weird like hallucination or something. Like she wasn't even
Mhm.
really in Dune.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Well,
people might have not even known it was her. It was like so fast.
yeah. Well, this is a big test because she is the lead. And,
Hmm.
Mad Max is an IP, but I don't think it's not Star Wars. It's not Lord of the Rings.
No.
It's, those first movies weren't even giant hits. They were indie movies. They were before Mel Gibson did Lethal Weapon. So, like, they weren't 80s blockbusters. It's not like Mad Max's Back to the Future or something like that.
Yeah.
So it definitely is a test of just how much people like her and want to see her in this way. And what is the read around campus on Anya Taylor-Joy? Are there posters of her? Is she the babe of the week? Is she
She
is she
she
the
I mean, people might know her as the Queen's Gambit girl, but that's probably about it.
okay? Yeah, like I mean, the thing is she's got it. She's got that charisma, but she
Hmm.
seems almost possibly so otherworldly that it's intimidating. You know, she
Hmm.
she's there's there are very few people who could say I look like Anya Taylor-Joy.
Hmm.
There's I think in the 80s there'd be, oh, I look like Julia Roberts, or someone say, oh my God, hey girl, you look just like Julia Roberts, and it's like that relatability. But I don't think there's a lot of people who get, you look like Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah,
That is
I mean, well, actually, there was her last movie that she did try to like co-star in, Last Night in Soho, was kind of about a whole movie about where like a girl imagined she was her. Did you end up seeing that in
yes,
like
I did.
2021?
I
Yeah,
saw that in the theater. Yeah,
and Famous
she,
Bomb by Edgar Wright, right? Like that's
yes,
it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and not that she needs to have it in this movie because it's a big sci-fi action movie, but there is something about being that kind of star where you could almost be too much, like too
Mm-hmm.
inaccessible. If like you're at a level where no one could see themselves in you, then that, it could be a quality, but you have to be like one or two people who movie stars who have that. Because otherwise, like, you want
Mm-hmm.
movie stars to be better than you, but not so much better than you that it is off-putting. So I don't know. We'll see if that's where she is, but I do think people definitely like her.
I feel
Um,
like they at least like she's like one of those actors where you know her face, but
yes.
maybe like part of her name, like not the, and you might like
Mm,
mispronounce it or
hmm.
like think it's like a letter or two off, but like you know of her at least.
Yes. Yeah, but people might not know all three words yet. Like
Yeah,
I think people know Anya. I
yeah,
think
they
we've gotten
or
that.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, they might not have gotten to Joy yet,
yeah.
that. But if
Mhm.
this is a hit,
It
if
takes
Furiosa,
time to get there.
yeah. So but it is, Charlize Theron sort of was in that same boat, but then I think she was able to get down to earth enough uh to become like not a relatable movie star, but someone who people like warmed up to.
Yeah, I
And
mean, after Mad Max, didn't she follow that up with like Atomic Blonde, which was kind of like her like star vehicle hit, like too, like didn't that
yes.
end up doing pretty good in like 2017? So like yeah,
Yeah,
like I feel like she did come, like she ended up being like pretty good after that.
yeah. So yeah, this is a big test for her. And here's the thing. All that said, I feel like we've been so high on Garfield, and it feels like we're setting the tone for disappointing Furiosa. I think Furiosa is going to do really well too, because it's going to get all the PLFs. Planet of the Apes came out
Hmm.
2 weeks ago. And I think
Yeah.
if Planet of the Apes came out last weekend, it'd be some trouble for Furiosa. But it's like Planet of the Apes has had 2 weeks with the IMAXs, so it's probably going to be giving
Hmm.
all those up. And Furiosa is a big, big movie. It's going to sell a lot of premium tickets. So I do think it could open bigger than Fury Road.
How much? What did Fury Road do
Well, I
back
guess
in?
Fury Road did, I'm going to guess 45 million.
I feel like it was closer to 50, but I might be wrong.
Let's see. Fury Road in 2015, its opening weekend, May 15th, was 45 million. Exactly.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
um, I think it'll do well. Okay, here's the thing. The lack of Mad Max. This is called Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. But as far as I
It's
know, Mad
solo
Max
Star
the
Wars
character,
story. It's the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah,
Same exact thing. Just
yeah.
on like Star Wars is like or was Brie and like Furious is like craft singles almost. Like that like I
Oh,
feel like
wow.
that's like the difference between saying a Star Wars saga and saying a Mad Max saga. Like
Oh, wow. So you think people are going to miss Mad Max? Like, he's not in this, as far as I know. I don't think.
I don't
I'm
even
sure there'll
think
be a
people miss
nod to
Mad
him.
Max in general.
Okay, so then that's good then for this movie. If people don't care about Mad Max, should they have even just taken the Mad Max saga off of the title altogether?
Yeah, I say just say Furiosa. No, say Young Furiosa. You
Young
can't forget the young.
Furiosa. Yeah,
Hmm.
if this was called just Young Furiosa and you get rid of the Mad Max mention, that's a better title. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does Chrissy Hemme mean anything? He's playing the villain. He really has never meant anything other than Thor. You know, I mean, he had a
Mhm.
Ghostbusters bomb. People forget this, but they made a Men in Black movie that he
Oh yeah.
starred in that bombed. So this is another shot at him doing a non MC. He did a Moby Dick movie that bombed.
Oh
I,
yeah.
it's going to be interesting if maybe him as the villain is what clicks.
I
Um,
think he's definitely like an added value element, but like we've clearly seen he can't hold his own in like
mhm.
anything. But I definitely think like him being there adds something to the movie that wouldn't be there if someone else just like completely was in his part.
Right, right. Yeah, I think he's someone who's been able to get on the talk shows the last week and promote it. Like he's famous enough to promote it. That's what you're paying him for.
Mm-hmm.
Um I it really is a big movie for both of them. You know, she is obviously trying to establish herself. Anya Taylor-Joy as a movie star. He's trying to desperately establish himself as someone who could do something other than Thor. And I think if this movie does hit 50 in the 3-day, that's pretty huge for both of them. If this could do bigger than Fury Road did, I think that's pretty big for both of them. Because it's not like there's any other elements to this movie. There's no
Mm-hmm.
other marquee characters added. It really is just, is the brand a little stronger, and are they more attractive as a duo than Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I guess when we get to the numbers, we'll see where both of us stand. But I personally don't think it's gonna hit that. I'd be surprised if it gets to 45 days in the 4-day, if we're being honest.
wow, wow, wow. Okay, I mean, we've got to talk about another story. We'll get to, I think, after our predictions, because we've got to talk about these Deadpool and
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine numbers. But why don't we our 3-day get to our predictions, our top 5 predictions, and then we'll tackle that story. Now, just want to double check, is there anything else that we're forgetting that's opening? Well, I am
I
seeing, do you know anything about the Angel Studios release called Sight? Is this the Greg Kinnear movie? I'm
I
checking
think
this.
so, and like I feel like I saw that somewhere, but I feel like at this point, Angel Studios had their gimmick one time, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone thought they were going to be like this next big thing, and they've released like what, like 2 or 3 movies since then, and like nothing's really clicked. So I feel like that was just like such a like a lightning in a bottle moment, and they've tried to recreate that, and like clearly it like hasn't worked. But I mean, maybe a summertime release it like works again. But I mean, have you seen anything about like pre-bought tickets that are like tracking for like a 20 or $15 million opening?
I'm not. Let me see if on the Angel Studios site if they've even got the tracker going, which I think that'll tell you, because if they're not showing you the tracker, then that must mean the numbers are pretty bad. So right
Yeah, and
now
I
I
mean,
am
this is
not.
so. I think I saw on Jeff Bock's thing that it's opening in like 2,000 plus theaters, but I haven't heard anything about this movie.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay, let's see. On the pay it forward slide, why pay it forward? Yeah, I'm not seeing a ticket tracker for Sight. So I think then, they were boasting about it for what's the movie, of course, from last year. Their big movie.
Not Angel Studios. Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom. Of course, Sound of
Mhm.
Freedom. They were showing you how many tickets were being pre-sold, but they're not on their website for Sight. And Sight is about a Chinese immigrant who defies all odds to become a world renowned eye surgeon. I mean, eye surgery on Memorial Weekend. Does that feel like it's a combo? I don't know. I don't know.
Honestly, I
Like,
feel like eye surgery is like it sounds like more the one of the more boring parts of medicine.
Uh-huh.
Like you think of like LASIK, I guess,
Yes.
when for eye surgery, and you just see like commercials designed for like old people with that stuff. So I feel like that's not really an appealing part of it. Maybe if she was like a neurosurgeon or like a
Mm-hmm.
cardiothoracic surgeon, that might do
Yep.
something. But then
Yep.
also the title wouldn't work. So they just
Right.
have to like redo like the whole thing. But yeah, I feel like I think it's like an optometrist. Like I feel like that's not one of the most like exciting things in the school of medicine.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like it's I would say it's a step above podiatry, although I think I take that back. I think because of foot fetishes, I do think
Yeah, I
a
feel like
movie
people
about
love people love that stuff.
yeah, yeah. So a movie about foot surgeries would probably do better
Do
than
better than
Sight is going to do. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, listen, it's a real life story. So nothing against the real life story of Dr. Ming Wang. I'm sure he did some
I'm sure she's a
incredible
great
things with the
surgeon.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he or she
Or
or
yeah, or they
well,
or
you
people.
know, people. Yeah. Whatever the surgeon was. Sure, their life
Mhm.
was, incredible, but I think they should have changed the story and made it about foot surgery and get
Yeah,
the foot
definitely.
fetishes out there.
Mhm.
Yeah. That doesn't seem like an Angel Studios play to cater to foot fetishists, but I mean they're all about in the
Yeah.
end the money. So
Mhm.
you go where the money is, and I think it's with the feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, Greg Kinnear's in there. He's not playing the surgeon. Greg Kinnear is not playing Dr. Ming Wang. So I I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to add to this movie.
Mhm.
In the picture I'm seeing like the press photo, we see him. He does have a doctor's coat on, Greg Kinnear, but he's just sort of like off to the side smiling at what the
Mhm.
main character does. So I don't know. Yeah, and listen, even if Greg Kinnear was playing Dr. Ming Wang, I don't think he's that much of a draw anymore anyway.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't think this is really going to
Yeah.
matter in our top fives. So let's do it. Let's give our top fives, and then we'll talk about this Deadpool Wolverine buzz.
Mhm.
So, as the new Clayton, um, would you like to go first or second?
Who usually goes first? Because I honestly I kind of forget. Is it 50-50?
Honestly, I kind of am forget. I don't remember much about the Clayton era of this show
Yeah,
anymore.
me
It's
either.
kind of
It's already like in the past, so I've kind of like forgot how you guys used to
yeah,
run it.
yeah. The Clayton era of this show really is like those Bill Murray Garfield movies,
Mhm. Mhm.
or the '90s Super Mario movie, where it's just been flushed out of our minds, and we're
Yeah.
ready to move on. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'll go first then.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just take it. And here is my number one. It's going to be this cat. It's going to be this big fat cat who that we didn't even mention. It's a kids movie. The rats
It's a
need their
get.
cheese,
And this is Brie. This is
and
Brie.
this is Brie. And if did 33.7 million last weekend as a non-IP. The lead character was just Grimace from McDonald's, and his name was Blue, and still
Not
makes
not even the right color, by the way. Like
not
not like
not
could
even the right
honestly that could
color.
confuse some kids if they were young enough. They're like, why are they calling someone that's purple blue? Like that
It
honestly that could be like a bad lesson for them.
it confused, and you know what? I think I'm gonna cut this footage into the end of this episode as a little bonus here. I told the story. I took my nieces to If last weekend, and we totally myself and my 7-year-old niece totally gaslit the 4-year-old when we kept
Mhm.
saying she was saying the purple guy, his name is Blue, totally gaslit her. We're like, come on, what's wrong with you? This
Yeah.
character's name is Purple or Grimace, obviously. And then the character's name
Yeah.
was Blue. I have that footage. I'm going to cut the audio in at the end of this episode.
I'm excited.
It's really shocking stuff. But even that movie did about $34 million last weekend. And so this is Garfield. This is the cat who's on the back of every goddamn car on the interstate, just suctioned right up against the window, which is great promotion. So I am going to say that opening weekend, this does over the tracking, and this does 52 million in the 3-day and 62 in the 4-day. So that I'm going big on Garfield, number one. Then number two is going to be Young Furiosa, or at least it should have been Young Furiosa. And I think that movie is going to do what Mad Max Fury Road did. I'm going to say exactly. I'm going to say 45 million in the 3-day and like 54 million in the 4-day. So that's number two. Number three is going to have to be number three is going to be Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
It's been pulling ahead in the days.
Today it hit number one yesterday. I think it finally pulled ahead.
Yep. So I think all the rats are going to scurry to Garfield. So Apes is going to be 3, If is going to be 4, and Strangers Chapter 1 is going to be number 5. I got a review from Wannabe O Girl today who saw The Strangers and basically said it was fine. Said there were no great kills in it, but it gave you everything you would expect from one of these movies, and she seemed satisfied enough from seeing that movie. And I think that's all you could expect out of A Strangers is that it got you out of the house. So I think that's number 5. So the new co-host of the show, Christopher, if you would like to give your top 5 predictions.
So I'm gonna go. I actually, spoiler alert, kind of agree with everything you said, but my numbers for the first 2 movies are not going to be as strong. I do think we're gonna get Garfield 45 for the 3-day, and then 55 for the 4-day. But then I do think Furiosa is gonna hit. I'm gonna go. I think Fall Guy numbers. I think it's gonna hit 28 for the 3-day, and then like 35 for the 4-day.
Wow.
Then you have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Then you have If, and then you have Strangers. But from your review, I'm a fan of the first 2 Strangers. I am now. I don't know if looking forward to it is the correct word, but I'm at least like the reviews were terrible, so this makes me feel a little bit better about it.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, the review was 6.5 out of 10. That was the review that I got on The Strangers, which, I mean, I think for this movie, that's a great score. So let's quickly, before we talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, we did get some great emails about this weekend. So we got Austin. The great Austin emailed us. And this is what he says. He's big on Garfield. So he says, I'm going out on a limb with this one. It's probably wrong, but I do feel like the pent-up demand for the rats is going off the charts. Garfield as a property feels timeless. Someone who's 25. I am in no way, shape the target audience for this film, but it looks colorful, fun, is at least a property that both kids and adults have heard of with a cast of genuine stars. The internet can hem and haw about Chris Pratt all at once, but the man is an absolute star in this kind of vehicle. One of the reasons it performs this weekend. Along with, we haven't mentioned this one, Christopher, but Austin points out eternal added value element Samuel L. Jackson. So Sam Jack is in this Garfield movie. And that is,
that's always exactly.
So Austin says, you guys want to get nuts. Let's get nuts. I'm thinking 56 for the 3-day and 70 million for the 4-day. And if I'm wrong, I'll accept my fate with the shot collar for a wild and ridiculous prediction. And then let's see, anything else? As Furiosa, I do think this one ends up hitting projections, gets extremely close to Fury Road's opening with 24 ticket prices versus 2015. So big on Garfield is Austin. And, we didn't mention Sam Jack, but maybe that's the reason that this movie gets to his predicted $70 million 4-day. That would be
And
incredible.
I always personally love when Austin goes nuts. He
Yes.
really always goes for it, and I'm always here for it.
Yeah.
But I am sorry, I do have work in the morning, so I am. If you're okay going to Deadpool and Wolverine, I would like
Let's
to
do
talk
it.
about that. Okay.
I mean, let's get it. Let's get your take right now. And I love it. This is a working man, even though he's in college. He's got to work. So, Christopher, the advanced ticket sales seem off the charts. How excited are you right now for end of July Deadpool and Wolverine? Not quite the collab yet, but these ticket sales look like this could be, Spider-Man numbers, possibly. Who knows?
I personally know at least 5 of my friends back home that would like to see this with me. So like
Wow.
I think this is, that's only 5 that I've like talked to. I think there's more than that. So like I think this is gonna be big.
Wow. Yeah. I had this probably like third or so of these movies for the summer, but the Wolverine thing feels like it's bigger than I was giving it credit for. I listened to David Thompson on his Cinema Spending podcast. He did a whole great 15 minutes on this, and he's got 150 million as his over under, where he could see this like doing Guardians 3 numbers and opening at 120, or he could see it going nuts and doing Doctor Strange 180, 190. Listen, I hope it gets there. I don't care about these superhero movies, but we need something to just go nuts this summer. So if it's Deadpool, it's Deadpool. Why not?
And I also feel like he made a good point. He said it's not exactly a family friendly movie, but I think it's that kind of character is enough to have the same demographics as a regular Marvel movie. And also he like we did grow up kind of with these Deadpool movies. Either like we weren't old enough to see them originally, but like eventually we've seen them, and both of the first 2 have been genuinely well liked. So I do think this is gonna like all add up to be a pretty big summer blockbuster. And
Yep.
I know we're not really talking about it right now, but I am worried Twisters is almost gonna get in a Barbenheimer situation where that opens up actually better than people thought it would, or like in line with projections. And then the collab just sucks it all out of the room, sucks all the oxygen out of the room.
I really do wish Twisters was opening up maybe 1 week earlier than it is, because I think right now Twisters is the 19th and Deadpool's the 26th, and like the July 12th feels kind of open. I think it's like a Scarlett Johansson Apple movie, and
that it's like Fly Me to the Moon or something, which is gonna do what it's gonna do no matter what's opening there anyway.
Yeah,
So you might as well put Twisters there to at least use some of those PLFs for an extra week.
Yeah, you don't want it to be Dead Reckoning Part 1. So I think maybe think about moving Twisters up a week. I know you have to go, but we just got a boots on the ground email. We've got to just read quickly from BO Boy Ethan. Just sent this Furiosa 4DX boots on the ground. Hey boys, longtime listener. Just saw Furiosa with my boyfriend. It was both of our first times 4DXing. Whoa. Suffice to say, the woman next to us took off her shoes once the chair started moving to become, I trust, more fully connected to the movie-going experience. Theater was packed for the Thursday opening. Not a critic, huh? 10 out of 10 recommend. BO Boy Ethan. So packed Furiosa screening opening night. People taking their shoes off. 4DX. I mean, good sign.
I guess 4DX is the way to go with it. Skip the IMAX. Just go straight to the like fully immersed experience.
Yeah. I mean, should Garfield get a Italian American only 4DX screening going
where they
it
just
feels
pump lasagna like through the entire theater or something like that?
Yep. Just shoot it straight out of the chair, so you leave covered in lasagna. I think a lot of people in my family, a lot of cousins would pay $50-$60 for that Garfield experience. So
easily.
Of course, email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. We got a lot of great emails. We'll get to them on the next episode. Got ones from Danny and lots of other emailers about Furiosa and Garfield. So we will get to those, see if their predictions were correct. Follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod. Christopher, anything exciting going on there on our social media?
Same thing as always. Check us out on our TikTok. Check us out on our Twitter /X, and fun little tease. Me and intern Jack are working on some content for the live shows. So you definitely
Wow.
got to go buy those tickets just so you can see what we have cooking up. And Pat said we could send him this video and they will not preview it until the live show. So it'll be totally uncut.
Yeah.
And Pat won't even know what we're doing. So
yes.
it'll be great.
So get your tickets now for the Los Angeles show. That's the only one that is currently on sale for October 8th. And so the tickets are below. Get them now because Scott Mendelson and Jeff Bock are both confirmed on stage. And as you heard it here, the interns will be making a video. I have no idea what it's going to be. And it is going to be aired in its entirety. And it's going to be a surprise to everyone. So you got to experience that live in LA. Get your tickets now. Of course, watch us on YouTube. We are YouTubers. You get the full experience there. And I think, and of course, the Substack Wannabe Junior intern Jack, who's going to be on an episode soon. We got to check in with him, but he has been writing up a storm on the Substack. So subscribe, read the Substack from Jack. Link in the show notes as well. And yeah, I think that's it, Christopher. I mean, there's nothing left to say.
Except for
until next time. We'll smell you at the box office.
Nailed it.
Heard of this movie before?
I heard. I did not heard it, but I heard the name is. I heard that big purple guy is him. His name is Blue.
Oh, okay.
I heard it from a channel. I heard it from a channel. I heard that big purple guy named Blue from a channel.